Are we headed for a recession? I keep hearing people use that word today.
Well, when are we getting a recession?
Late summer 2023. Yeah, I didn't say 2024, I said 2023, which means my base case is in 3 to 4 months, the US is going to be in a recession.
Economists are projecting that Canada could face a recession in 2023. Here's what you need to know.
Taylor Swift is headed to Australia and it may save the country from a recession. Taylor,
are we in a recession? Yes. Are we going to be in a recession? Yes, it's going to be a bad one. And listen, you don't have to believe me. You can just bury your head in the sand and pretend this isn't going to happen.
The New Zealand economy is officially in recession.
Amazing viewer, I'm glad you're watching TikTok videos, and today we'll be looking at recession. From the previous clip, you've already seen that some countries are already experiencing recession right now, and some other countries are likely to experience it. So we'll be looking at the ways to invest, and also so that we are on the safe side, even though it comes in our countries. So watch carefully, and also we can predict from this video.
I think we're entering a period of mental recession. So there's economic recession, and then I think there's what I call mental recession.
If you're still wondering what is a recession, keep watching. Now, according to Google, a recession is when economic activity declines, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. Some indicators of housing market activity may decrease. This could be due to the high interest rate, more people losing their jobs, corporate profits declining, and an inverted yield curve. The 10-year yield is below 2-year yields. This is often a sign that the Fed has hiked short-term rates too high and investors are looking for longer-term bonds over riskier assets. The cycle looks like fear increases, confidence is down, therefore people spend less, companies have less profits and therefore have to lay off their employees, riskier assets like stocks and crypto fall, banks lend less, and then it goes full circle again and again. Potential factors that have caused the recession are rising interest rates, inflation rising, oil prices increasing, and increase in uncontrolled debt. And here's how to prepare for a recession. Pay off high interest debt, build an emergency fund of at least a year, cut back on discretionary spending, and potentially upskill to earn more income.
Where economic activity declines. So what does this mean? This is where people are spending less money, they're doing less things. Just think less, less, less. The trend is going down. So the main things we're dealing with in this situation is less disposable income and or higher expenses. If you're wanting to prepare, adjusting your income early, so before any of this happens. And dealing with your finances or reflecting on your money, your financial situation is so hard. I've described it as like a bell curve before, where you're just struggling on the uphill. It takes so much of your energy to get to the top, and you're just struggling. You don't want to do it. You don't want to face it. And then you get to the top and you hit this like stable point. And then after that, things become easier. So when you check your budget, it's so hard to get around to doing that because you're procrastinating and scared to see what is involved. But once you actually look at it and assess the situation, things become so much easier.
Poor people are terrified. Rich people are stoked. It's no surprise that this recession is going to be a tale of two cities, and I'm Vivian, your rich BFF and your favorite Wall Street girlie who's going to explain how this is going to go down. In your adult lifetime, you'll likely only see 3 to 5 major economic downturns, and they're going to be your biggest opportunities to build wealth. It is critical for you to invest now if you can. You see, each time rich people will rapid fire deploy their money into investments when everyone else is freaking out, they'll use this opportunity to buy stocks, real estate, and whole ass companies on the low. And when things inevitably recover, they're gonna ride that wave back up and be richer than ever. But poor people and people who don't invest, not only will their lives be getting more expensive due to inflation, but they're not gonna be able to participate in this ride back up. And I get that if you're paycheck to paycheck, you're more worried about putting food on the table than investing. But if you can somehow get yourself into that pool of people who are investing during this downturn, maybe through a second job or a side hustle, that could be the difference between whether or not you're financially secure in the next 5 to 10 years.
Excuse me, sir, what do you do for a living?
It's your business. I'm an investor.
How long have you been doing that?
A long time.
How much money do you make?
I make a lot.
Do you have any tips for people going into this upcoming recession?
There's going to be a recession, no question. But all the assets are going to increase in value. It's a complicated formula, but stock market, real estate, diamonds, art, everything's going up. Any asset is good. Leaving money in the bank is just going to dissipate.
Recession is coming in 2023. Here's why you need to be excited. Many believe that the Federal Reserve has triggered a recession that will happen later this year, where economic activity is going to decline considerably. Here's a snapshot of recessions over the past 80 years. In most cases, they only last about a year. In these instances, unemployment was as high as 15%. If a recession does happen to the real economy, not talking about the stock market, that could actually be good news for investors in the long term. If you look at the stock market as a whole, recessions have always been a buying opportunity in the long term. Bull markets have always been much larger and longer than bear markets. It's a big mistake to sell out of all of your stocks and time the market.
You've probably heard by now that New Zealand is in a recession. I wanted to talk to you about this yesterday, but I had the flu, so we're doing it one day late. Here's why you probably don't need to worry about it. We're only in a recession by the slimmest of margins. Data that came out this week showed that our economy declined 0.1% in the first 3 months of this year. That followed a decline of 0.7% in the last 3 months of last year. 2 quarters of negative growth for our economy technically means that we're in a recession, but only by 0.1%. This data is so laggy. The data set is only from the beginning of this year. We're already in the middle of this year, so we may have actually grown our way out of a recession by now. I don't mean to be flippant and say that our economy being in a recession is not a bad thing, because it is. But for anybody who's on their way to work right now and still has a job, it probably doesn't really matter to you. Word recession comes with all these big scary connotations and probably makes you think of things like an economic shock like the GFC. But this technical recession is very different to that. Our unemployment rate is currently historically low, which means that most New Zealanders are still in work. As long as unemployment stays low, this recession won't really feel like one for most of us.
Do you want to survive the 2023 recession? I'm laughing because you're going to hear those words a lot. There's a recession coming on. They're in the middle of a recession. The recession is ending. When you hear those kinds of words, you got to smile, because the best way to survive the 2023 recession is to pretend like it doesn't exist. How can that be? Well, this is a great time to buy real estate, because a lot of people are afraid, and they will let go of their property at lower prices with better terms than they did just last year. This year is the nothing down time. So I'm going to challenge you to buy 10 properties in 2023. Yeah, 10. You say, well, I don't have any money. I wrote the book called Nothing Down. Hello?
49,769. That's the number of Canadians who left the country in 2022, according to Statistics Canada. The number of people leaving the country has been steadily increasing since 2012. In 2021 alone, an estimated 40,000 Canadians left, and this trend shows no sign of slowing down. Canada is renowned for its beautiful landscapes, diverse culture, and high standard of living. It has welcomed people from all over the world, offering them opportunities to build a new life and thrive. However, in recent years, there has been a growing trend of people leaving Canada. So what's behind this trend? Here are some untold truths about why people are choosing to leave.
Yeah, at this point, we'll be looking at the reasons that made people leave Canada. Yes, I consider that one that has been cited there, but let's look at the real thing, like people who have left and who are commenting. So here we are, running to where the whole world is going to drain. Is that true? The whole world will drain? I often fantasize about living. How is corporate greats living to where our population is skyrocketed, trying to buy a house in London? So the grass isn't green at the other side. Okay, scroll through, people choosing, okay, down, down, down. Okay, I would love to know how many people are leaving South Africa. In South Africa, people are also leaving. What? The reason is the government. You're welcome to Philippines. Why not welcome to Africa as well? You're welcome. Yeah, come with a lot of money and try and invest as much as you can.
A lot of people actually leaving the UK.
If we pay our taxes, they should come back to benefit us in some way, shape or form.
UK might be losing its competitive edge. A lot of people have left to Portugal, to Spain, where it's nice and sunny, better than in the UK, and flats are cheaper over there too.
Can it get worse? I hope not.
What should you invest in any recession?
In any recession?
Yeah.
I know for an inflationary market, you should invest in assets. In a recession,
I'm going to give you I'm part of a group of economists, and we talk and we share, and we all agree, for the most part unanimously, I think, on this one. I don't know if we betted this one, but we all talk this way all the time. And we say you should invest in whatever the asset class was that was the epicenter of the previous recession.
The car market is collapsing.
Yeah, it actually is. And I sit on a bank board, and I'm in the Knoxville, Tennessee market. I'm Julie Hurley, real estate agent, Knoxville, Tennessee, just to preface. Yes, I am on a bank board. This was actually part of our conversation at our last bank board meeting about car loans, not for our bank. Thank God we're okay for now. But we actually look at numbers from all over the country and discuss kind of how to maybe circumvent some potential problems in the future. And I did make a video about this exact same issue this same time last year. Scroll through, if I can find it, I'll repost it, about how if you look at what's going to happen in the future, you always look at cars first. Cars are an absolute have to have. People can rent, so their houses they can let their houses go. They will short sell, they will foreclose. You cannot go without transportation to get to and from a job, especially where I'm at in the state of Tennessee. A lot of rural states don't have mass transit like Washington, D.C. or New York. So states like Tennessee, we are very reliant on our cars to get us anywhere. So when you look at the intrinsic value of a car versus the amount of the loan, let's say, for example, you have a car that you pay $50,000 for, but the car is only worth $30,000, but you had to have the car. You're going to make that car payment for as long as you possibly can. When you get to a point where we get into a slow recession, which is where we are currently in a slow recession, not in a full recession, but in a slow recession, people are going to stop making that car payment. They're going to struggle. When prices of goods and services go up, interest rates go up, the utilities are triple what they were a couple of years ago. This is all indicative of what's going to happen in a recession. We started looking at this last year. So again, I made a video about that. But just to add to that, anytime you start to see banks failing on car loans, and we start to see that, you can guarantee that in 90 days, those cars will potentially be repossessed. Maybe a bank will give you another 3 months on top of that. So say 6 months to try to catch that payment up. But during that exact same amount of time, those same people are also barely making their house payment. They're having to choose between transportation or housing. So we're going to start to see the housing market follow what is happening currently in the car market. I know a lot of people are scared right now. It's okay. Things are going to be okay. They always work themselves out, especially when we have an interest rate change and inflation. But just so you know, it is something to look at. So cash is king, like this lady says. I would definitely 100% wait a few months if you're looking to buy a car. You may be able to actually just kind of put out there on a Facebook post, I need a used car, I'm paying cash. But same is going to go for housing, which I do investment portfolios all the time for buyers. justhomesgroup.com. I hope it doesn't happen to you, but if it does, we have people that will assume your loans. Please don't put yourself in a short sale situation. Call us first. Thanks so much.
Productivity in Australia at business level is at an all-time low. That is the truth. I get a feeling, to be honest with you, that the RBA governor sees this, and I think he knows that this is a problem, and I think he's going to push us into recession, and I think he's going to push us into recession so he can push unemployment up and teach everyone a lesson. And I reckon his view is I'm going to get unemployment from 3.5 to maybe 5. People aren't going to be able to think, well, shit, I can get a job anywhere I want. All of a sudden, all these hit-ups you're getting on LinkedIn are going to drop away. People are going to be put on their mettle as to their performance, and maybe productivity will increase, will go up, as opposed to go backwards. That's my gut feeling. I reckon he wants to shock the economy and shock our mentality.
Glad you tuned in. Thank you so much for watching. Want to leave you right here and see you next. But also don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave your thought in the comment section. Also explore the alternatives.